Hello everyone, you're watching another video episode from my pilot mini-series. I'm filling in during the holiday season from the time of EML-77 TV, which I completed a month ago, a week before Thanksgiving with 1,000 episodes. But now I am going to fill in the gap until the new season, which will be starting January 2021, called WEML TV channel 77, the YouTube station identification of yours truly, New Bedford, Massachusetts resident chip. That means CHP, crazy half Portuguese. This is from right now we call the bridge up, the pilot mini series of my YouTube channels. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Saturday afternoon, 12:34 p.m., December the 12th, 2020. And another WFW thoughts. That means Wrestling Fantasy Warfare. But we're going to honor a wrestling legend, a legend who was with the World Wrestling Federation, aka WWF, which is now aka World Wrestling Entertainment, aka WWE. A legend that is no longer with us, as you know. Tiny Lister, Thomas Tiny Lister Jr., who was an actor, but also was a wrestler known as Zeus. He passed away earlier this week, and at the age of 62, and he is to be very missed. He played Zeus in No Holds Barred, which he took that character into the World Wrestling Federation. Another thing too is he played Debo in the Friday series, and I did not know this, but Kevin Henry, my friend, mentioned this to me, that he played Cassius in Little Nicky. Supposed to be a funny movie. And also played the president, and I forget his name. I don't think it's an L. I think it's Lindbergh. President Lindbergh, I think, in The Fifth Element. So, may he rest in peace forever. To honor him, I am going to see what would have happened if he stayed around in the World Wrestling Federation in his prime. What if he decided, well, Hollywood acting ain't going to be fun. I want to do this. What would I do? What would he do? Who would he face if the WWE, the World Wrestling Federation, used him as a wrestler? Say, hey, we'd like for you to stick around. Imagine, if you will, Zeus versus the Ultimate Warrior would have been an interesting matchup. Would have been. Another matchup. Let's just say he decided to stick around into the 90s of the World Wrestling Federation. Who would he face there? I think they would have done a program. They would have done a program with the Undertaker, because the Undertaker, is impervious to pain. He's focused. His expression never changes. Imagine if Zeus and the Undertaker locked horns back in the day. If the World Wrestling Federation decided to have Zeus stick around for a while, imagine those two monsters colliding. I mean, Zeus would probably act like he feels no pain. He's not afraid of anybody. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see. Would have been very interesting to see. But also, what if you put them together as a tag team? Who is going to stop them? Not Demolition. I mean, I don't know. The Hart Foundation would be tag team champions. Our tag team champions by the time the Undertaker made his debut. Imagine, like I say, I could see Zeus and the Undertaker were a tag team in the World Wrestling Federation. Imagine like those two versus the LOD, or those two versus the Nasty Boys. I mean, because they were tag team champions in 1991. The Hart Foundation started the year 1991 as tag team champions. Had Zeus stuck around, and what the World Wrestling Federation said, hey, I want to do this, I want to learn. Imagine that. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen unless you decide to put it on a computer in a video game. I mean, if Zeus decided to be put in a video game, I would put Zeus and Undertaker as tag team or a one-on-one matchup. That would have been great. Now, let's just say that Zeus would travel from the 80s into today. Who would he face? We haven't heard much from Braun Strowman in quite a while. Imagine Zeus going up against Braun Strowman. I would feel bad for the referee in that matchup. I mean, it's just crazy, Yeah. So yeah, I can picture. I could have pictured that. That would have been great. But I think the only way to live your dream match is through the video games, the through the 2K games, and every game you find. It's amazing. So imagine this is to honor Zeus too. What about in, let's say, all right, if Zeus was on Raw, if he travel, let's say we take the Zeus from the '80s, travel him, get him here in today's period in his prime. Who would he? Like I said, Strowman from Raw. How about SmackDown? Lars Sullivan. He could be another one. Um, but with all the problems Lars Sullivan has, it would probably be more likely he'd be released. But Zeus versus Lars Sullivan, or Zeus versus Lars and Lars Sullivan as a tag team, that's the scariest thing in the world. Or Zeus and Strowman as a tag team, another scary thing. What about NXT? Let's just say we take this, again, the Zeus from the World Wrestling Federation, the '80s era, stick him in NXT. Who? Bronson Reed and Zeus? That would be a heck of a match. What about Karrion Kross versus Zeus? I really don't know. And that would, I don't know. It is a weird thing, and how about Zeus versus that giant Omos guy, Omos from with the AJ Styles? Imagine that, or Zeus versus Roman Reigns. Imagine Roman Reigns, Superman punching him, and Zeus does not even feel a thing. It's crazy, man. It's totally crazy. I mean, you're talking about a man that his character feels no pain, is impervious to pain. I mean, you do everything to him. Let's Zeus was part of the WCW known as Z Gangsta. If he stuck around there, imagine Zeus versus the Giants, or Zeus versus the Big Show, or Zeus versus Kane. Let's go back to WWF, aka WWE, World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment. If Zeus stuck around for the Attitude Era, let's bring that '80s Zeus here. Him versus Kane would be a collision course waiting to happen. Or Zeus versus Viscera of the Ministry of Darkness. That would be a matchup that I would like to see. Or, let's go to the early '90s of the World Wrestling Federation. Zeus versus Yokozuna. Or Zeus versus Ludwig Borga. I mean, I would pit Zeus. If I were to time travel Zeus, I would pit him against some of the meanest, baddest dudes ever. That's what I would do. Imagine the Undertaker in his Ministry of Darkness phase against Zeus. You know how vicious that could be? Or Zeus versus the Big Show? I'm getting confused. I got myself confused. I'm confusing everybody here. I can make a list of matches that I would put Zeus in. I know a lot of people say, Zeus is not a good wrestler, no, this is not what he does. I know, but imagine if he was given more time in the World Wrestling Federation. Or if he goes to WCW, if he goes to all this. I mean, imagine Zeus and Goldberg. Would Goldberg's streak still go if he ran into Z Gangsta? But what if during the Attitude Era, Zeus joined the Nation of Domination? Imagine what would have happened if Zeus had done. The Nation of Domination would be the most powerful faction during the Gang Wars. They would have. If Zeus stuck around, because I could see him as an enforcer for Farouk's Nation of Domination. Imagine that, or he stuck around, had The Rock hire him as his bodyguard. I mean, imagine, like I said, Kane gets in the way, Zeus will probably stood up. Zeus will probably stand up to the Brothers of Destruction. Or Zeus versus Vader. Imagine, Vader and Zeus joining forces against the Brothers of Destruction, or going against Vader, and so the possibilities would have been endless if Zeus was still alive and was still around in the World Wrestling Federation, aka WWF, aka WWE. Or we could time travel Zeus. Let's say Zeus versus Brock Lesnar. That's a collision course waiting to happen. Wow. What would have been? let's apply Wrestling Fantasy Warfare. What would have been if Zeus stuck around in the WWE, aka World Wrestling Federation, aka WWF, or went to WCW? Zeus versus Kevin Nash, that would be a matchup, no? Or Zeus will probably clean NWO house. He would clean house of the NWO. It could have gone after Hogan or something like that. That would be something. Zeus and Sting, joining forces as two lone wolves that don't have an allegiance to anybody at that time, and if anybody wants to start something with Sting, Zeus will probably stand right in front of the person, You have a choice to make. Do you trust Sting? That type of deal. I mean, it's that's what I'll do. Every time I do a wrestling fantasy warfare, I'm going to pick one wrestler from any organization and try to basically come up with some fantasy matches or something like that. That'd be a heck of an idea. So that's why I chose Zeus in honor of him, dead or alive. All right. I figured I want to honor the legends that have passed on. We lost Pat Patterson last week. Now we lost Zeus, and it is a it is a very very tough road for wrestling indeed, especially in 2020. They are traveling from uncharted waters for the very first time, but they're trying to make the most of it as they can, especially WWE and AEW and Impact Wrestling. Ring of Honor is following suit with the no crowd thing, and it's really and then you got the virtual crowds in the WWE, which is I think they picked it up from the NBA because the NBA's done that too. It's something. It is something to behold. So I am really really pleased about that. So those are the fantasy matches I can come up with Zeus. If you have any thoughts on this, but let's just say don't talk about the Zeus that's like now dead, obviously, but talk about the Zeus from the '80s. What and if he stuck around, or did you time travel him? Who would you put? Let's just say you created him in a video in one of those 2K WWE 2K games. Who would you put up against? Who would you have him team up with? And I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I've always like I say, Von Baskin's crazy comments usually gives me some great ideas. Hey, there you go. So I thank Von Baskin once again for this. This is something. How about this? You guys comment a wrestler's name. I'll talk about that wrestler on the WFW thoughts when my new season starts. I'm really excited about this. This is really cool. So it's going to be totally awesome. So rest in peace, Zeus, Tom Tiny Lister Jr. May your legacy live on. Condolences to you and prayers to your family and friends and fans. We're going to miss you. And so, and thank you for the memories of entertaining us. And I hope wherever you are, you're reunited with that. You got to meet all the celebrities and friends up in heaven and say, hey, I'm here and all that good stuff. So I pray that your family receives comfort at times like this. That's it. That's all the time I have. WFW Thoughts, Wrestling Fantasy Warfare Thoughts 2, episode 34 or 35. I think it's episode 34 one of the Bridge Up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you on episode 35. Bye.